He was the architect of championship teams. An iconic leader of the Colorado Avalanche has passed away. The Avalanche former president and general manager, Pierre Lacroix, died from complications of COVID-19. He'd been hospitalized for over a week in Las Vegas, where he and his wife had retired to after leaving the Avalanche in 2013.
He is the man who built 2 Stanley Cup champions here in Colorado. He was 72 years old. Lacroix was running the Quebec Nordiques when he moved to Denver in 1995. Put together that team that would win the Cup in its first year in Colorado, bringing the city its first major sports championship.
Pierre Lacroix himself had been a player agent before switching sides to become a member of team management. His most notable trade, of course, 25 years ago last week. That's when he swung the deal that brought Patrick Roy to the Avalanche, and along the way, one of the most intense rivalries in all of sports was born between the Avalanche and Red Wings. Most of that played out on the ice and also in the stands. But Pierre Lacroix's competitive nature was also a big part of that as well, as much as it was a big part of the success of the Avalanche.
Oh, such good days. And Lacroix is survived by his wife, 2 sons, and 3 grandchildren. Rod's going to have more thoughts from the Avs, the owner, Stan Kroenke, and former captain Joe Sakic on his passing in sports. But Tom, you know so much more about him. I just know that having grown up here, this whole state went crazy for hockey because we really didn't. I mean, we had hockey, but we really weren't a hockey city and state.
Well, if you could make the trip from the summer of 1995, when there was not an NHL team in town, to the summer of 1996, where they were the center of Colorado's universe, having won the Stanley Cup, you could understand what he had done. He had taken a very good hockey team that had left Quebec, and he had added players like Claude Lemieux as well as the likes of Patrick Roy. And suddenly there was a championship team here. And suddenly, whereas maybe 90% of the people in Colorado had no idea that what hockey was happening, what was happening with the world of hockey, all of a sudden, by the time the playoffs had rolled around, the world in Colorado was focusing on the Avalanche and what would be a dramatic championship run to the first championship that we'd known at a professional level.
Yeah, all of a sudden we knew these names: Joe Sakic, Peter Forsberg. I mean, the parade. I mean, it was wonderful. It was a magical time.
And he was the guy who did it, and just a very unique man. And his personal relationships with many people will be something you'll be learning a lot more in the next few days. But we're sad to tell you the story that Pierre Lacroix, at 72, has passed away.
Absolutely.